everyone. My name is Hannah Plank, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about some learning strategies. Things we can use to teach our students, pretty much teach our students how to learn and how to keep track of things for themselves. And it's less on us. So starting off with the foundation, okay, these are things they need to be grasping for themselves, and you can help them along with this. Self-awareness, knowing what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are, okay? What things are they good at? What things are they not? If they can start figuring that out for themselves, then the things that are lacking, they'll be able to pay more attention to, okay? This leads into self-advocacy, which is pretty much looking out for themselves, knowing how they learn best, how things work best for them, and if something's not right, speaking up for themselves, okay? Recognizing when they have a problem and what to do to go find the help they need, okay? And then this way, when it comes to self-determination, all right, so they're able to make these decisions for themselves without someone having to tell them what to do. They're able to know what to do and to do it for themselves. This sort of effective self-advocacy type training, the potential impact of these will really reflect on their performance. They'll be able to get the support that they need and have all the skills they require for not just in school, but for when they get out in the real world, which is the whole goal of why we teach in the first place. So here's the how. Good strategy instruction needs to be designed in a way that it's pretty universal. There's not a lot of changes or adjustments depending on, if you've got some students with some disabilities or something. Doesn't matter. It's going to apply to them too. And the ones that don't, okay, going to apply to them too. Identify the skill areas that need the most work. Focus on those strategies for those first. And when it comes to selecting strategies, you can get on the internet and find a million out there, okay? So look for ones who are brief. They need to be brief, no more than 8 steps, and those steps need to be very verb focused, okay? It's going to call to action to do something. And not just that, but it's also going to cue them to some sort of behavior, okay? At this step, I need to be thinking about this. I need to be remembering this or checking this. So the steps need to be make clear enough that they can understand that. Decide whether this is something that would be good for the whole class, a select few, or just one kid, okay, or 2 kids. So that's determine the size of the problem. Who all needs to know this? Who all needs to benefit from this the most? Assess the current usage. What are the skills that they need to already have before we can even try to complete this task? There's no point teaching order of operations if they're having trouble subtracting. Okay? Get those pre-skills out of the way first. Clarify the expectations. Let them know up front, look, this that I'm about to teach you, here's what it's good for, okay? Gonna make you get your homework done a lot faster so you can get onto your baseball or video games or whatever it is, okay? Give them the reason why they would want to pay attention, okay? Give them the motivation. Demonstrate. Not just showing them the steps, but talk out loud what should be going through their mind at each of the steps. Otherwise, they're just going to be going through the motions, and we're getting nowhere. At the same time, encourage memorization. That way they can think about each step real quick, come to mind, and not have to think about it much. Post it around the room if you have to while they're learning it. Use mnemonics, okay? I still remember the FOIL method for algebra, and I haven't used it since ninth grade, okay? But it's still in there. So my algebra teacher did a great job hammering that in, okay? Because I still remember it. Don't use it, but it's in there. And then also practice. Practice makes permanent. We want to make sure that we're practicing it the right way. Otherwise, it's really hard to try and go back and relearn something that you've been doing wrong this whole time. So guided practice, okay, as a group, all of us together, then with just a few cues from the teacher, so they're on, doing the rest of it on their own if they just need a refresher. Scaffolding, okay, essentially is what that is. And then also individual practice. Here's where you might want to have some drills, okay, so they can get to it on their own and get it in there better. Praise and feedback, keep it instant so it's right there. That way we're not practicing things the wrong way and have to go back and fix that. And this way they're going to end up taking responsibility for their own success or failure, which is how it's going to be in the real world anyway. And that's the end goal. And then finally, use some post-tests. This is going to prove to both them and yourself that they actually know it, that this actually works. That this will tell you if there's any that maybe need to get some things reinforced, retaught, or if they all got it and it clicks. That's sweet. Way to go. So those are kind of the steps when you're designing and figuring out how to implement these strategies, how to go about doing that. So here's some examples of some specific strategies we can use. When it comes to reading fluency, there's one, it's called WARF. I kind of changed it to BARF because it's elementary. It's 5th grade, okay? They go for that kind of thing. This one is good for textbook fluency. This is about the 5th grade's about the time they start leaning on textbooks, which they'll need when they get up to the middle school. So widen eye span or bigger eye span, depending on which one you're going with. So they're seeing things in phrases and chunks instead of word for word. And avoid skip backs. So if it doesn't make sense, just keep on going. It might make sense later. Review or read silently and flex your rate. Okay, you need to go faster, you need to go slower, depending on how complicated it is. Vocabulary strategy. These would be teaching them about the word parts, root words, morphemes, prefixes, suffixes, okay? You can also use graphic organizers like your word webs, those kind of things. Then for reading comprehension, again, with the textbook stuff that starts really picking up in 5th grade. You've got scroll, so we're surveying the headings, okay? Making connections, what's the gist of what it's talking about, that's the C, connections. Read it, and then make an outline based on the main ideas and things. Then look back and make sure you got it. This is where you can also talk about how to highlight the important stuff, okay? Use that at the same time. If they're having trouble listening, staying focused, okay? I would say slant really loud, and they know that means sit up, okay? Lean forward, activate your thinking, and then you're going to start naming the important information and track the talker, okay? So if I can tell they're starting to I'm losing them, slant, back on focus, okay? Gets them engaged. For writing, particularly editing things or working with their peers, okay? We have tag, which is working with their peers. Pretty much giving constructive criticism, okay? Tell what you like, ask questions, and give suggestions. This keeps things nice and not nasty. And then for editing their own stuff, okay, cops, capitalize, okay, the overall look, punctuation, and spelling. You hit those 4 main things. The other stuff we'll work on later. That's most of the proofreading errors comes back to those few things. When it comes to math and problem solving, I mentioned the FOIL method, the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we've had that forever, okay? Another one is when they're looking at particularly story problems or problem solving, search the problem, read it carefully, write it down, start translating it into either an equation or a picture, whatever they need to be able to solve it, and then answer it, and then review and make sure that that makes sense, that that fits. And then there's a program for time management that's called HOPS, and it's called Homework, Organization, and Planning. And there's a whole system that really helps them organize not just what they need to do, not just organize their day, which it has planners and everything, but also helps them organize their backpacks, their desks. We all know this, kids, if they go to pull something out of their desk and it's an avalanche, okay? Or they open up the backpack and who knows when the last time that was gone through, okay? Things are color-coded, they're organized, it helps them stay on track. Some other tips would be take advantage of tech, okay? They've got their tablets or whatever they have in the school. There's reminder apps. There's all kinds of things that can help keep them on track. So now that, let's make sure that they actually are going to use it, okay? That they actually got it. So self-instruction, that's talking themselves through it, okay? That they can say it and know it. Self-monitoring, self-questioning, that's kind of like your mental checklist, okay? Do I have this? Do I have this? Do I have this? And figuring out what's completed and what's not. It's got the instant feedback so they can make sure they're on the right track. So some other tips, if you've got, as mentioned, posting around the room if we need to. If you've got a few kids that are just really not remembering the steps, you can maybe have like a little cue card on their desk or binder, kind of like a little cheat sheet just for them. And the main thing is just start demonstrating it over and over again. Make sure it's explicit and that they really get it. This is going to make your life easier if they get it. It's going to make their life easier. Really just better for everybody. So I want to thank you for listening, and I will open it up for questions.